Hey ERBC family, I experienced something brand new this week, up close and personal. And the new thing I experienced was social distancing. And the place that I experienced it was at the grocery store. I was really encouraged to see that our local grocers are taking the instructions of our elected political leaders to heart. They're limiting the number of people they're allowing into their stores at any one time. And they've arranged the lines of people waiting to get into their stores so that those waiting in line can be at least 6 feet apart. And then when you do get to the front of the line, where you're about to enter the store, they have one of their store employees there at the door to spray your hands with sanitizer and offer you a shopping cart which they have already sanitized for you. Once you get into the store and you're done with your shopping and ready to check out, just in case you're not the greatest when it comes to estimating distances, the store I visited had used red tape on the floor, beginning at the point of the cashier's stand where you swipe your debit card, and then backing up from there every 6 feet on the floor was another stripe of red tape. If we stood on those stripes and moved no closer, we could be sure we were at least 6 feet apart from the person in front of us. As I was standing in line at the store, I realized that social distancing isn't something new. In fact, social distancing is a practice that our Lord Jesus modeled himself during his time on earth. The scriptures tell us that there were times when Jesus would separate himself from the crowds and go off to a lonely place and spend time alone with his Father. In the midst of proclaiming the kingdom, healing the sick, feeding the multitudes, casting out demons, raising the dead, and redeeming the world, Jesus left margin in his life for time alone with his Father. He refused to allow the good to squeeze out the best. In his social distancing, Jesus was making room for God, and we need to do the same thing. In the busyness of our lives, we need to make sure that we're creating space or making room for God. There are times when it's important for us to distance ourselves from other responsibilities in order to create space for God. God doesn't need us to do something so that he has room to work, but we need to make sure that we're not so distracted by the things around us that we miss what God is doing. We need to take time, distance ourselves from all the issues around us, and make room for God in our lives. Because it's when the noisiness of life is quieted that we're able to hear God's voice the most clearly. This is why the psalmist tells us in Psalm 46, "Be still and know that I am God." Romans 8 promises us that our God is able to work all things together for good. While COVID-19 is having a terrible impact around the globe, this could be one of the ways God may use the virus for good according to his promise. As ball games are canceled, as schools are closed, as restaurants are shutting down and we're all staying at home, our social distancing gives us room in our lives for things other than our normal activities. I want to challenge you to take good advantage of a bad situation. Make extra room for God in this season, and it'll make a difference, not only now, but in the seasons to come, long after the virus is gone.